Welcome to the Where Are We Going Now podcast, where you meet interesting and crazy people, hear their stories on how they navigated through their own life, to hopefully give you some insight on how you'd like to navigate your life. Welcome to the Where Are We Going Now podcast, episode 16. Today I'm here with Mark the Shark Stevens, comedian, writer, and host of his own podcast called the LOUDCAST with Mark and Tom. I met Mark at the Comedy Store probably like a week or two after I moved here, and we bonded over the fact that we both have a childhood friend, Tyler Massey. Shout out Tyler Massey. And but yeah, so that's how I know Mark. So Mark, say hi to the people.
Hey, what's up, people? The millions and millions. I cannot. I'm trying to here's the thing, that nickname, like I say it like I got brought up to that as an open mic last night. I was like, oh, Armando, come on, man. I like it's for my it's just for my friends nowadays with my Instagram handle, but I just I don't gotta go on stage that no more. Oh man, I love the fact that we both know Tyler Massey too. He was such a sweet guy. Like we use your childhood friend. I knew him in college. Like.
Yeah, he's an all-time kind of dude.
Oh yeah,
he's
the man.
So solid.
He's a legend. Tyler's a legend. Tyler's a fucking legend.
Tyler, if you're listening, we miss you. But
yeah, we love you.
That's for sure. But
no more stage diving for you, sir.
Oh God.
Oh what? You never heard about that story?
No.
Dude, he got a really bad concussion. Like I think my last year in Boston, he couldn't drink for like 7 months. Like he went to see Man Overboard and he got hit in the head so bad. I think he either staged over as a concert and he like. Or no, what was it? I'm trying to think. It was one of those bands. I'm not sure if it was Man Overboard or like Title Fight or one of those. I think it was Title Fight, and he literally just stage dove and like got hit in the head. And if you know Tyler Massey, you know that's not really that out of the ordinary for me to say that. And then he wanted to get concussed, and he was like just out of it for like 6 months. He couldn't even do it. I was like worried about him for a while.
I still am worried about him. But,
aren't we all?
Yeah. But let's get into your story. So your hometown's North Andover.
Yes, my hometown is North Andover, but I guess this is the origin. Kind of like it's this podcast is mostly focused on how I came to be kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, well we're gonna kick it back. See, my first house was in Windham, New Hampshire. Yeah, my first
up in the sticks.
Up in the sticks. And I grew up there with my mom and my dad. My parents split at a very, very young age.
How old were you?
I think I was in the second grade, but I knew they were splitting long before then. They fought every day. They weren't, my dad, I haven't seen my old man since I was 16 years old, and it's been better every year. But, yeah, my dad's a bad guy. But, it's just, they were just, my dad was just like the guy that he just did. I mean, he could barely even get a job. He didn't do this. He did that. Like him and my mom fought like every day. He was a bad guy. So him and my mom split, and then my parents both got remarried. So that's like how
that's
so good. Yeah. So my mom, my stepdad live in North Andover, and my dad and my stepmom, I think, live in New Hampshire still.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, what was that like in second grade?
Honestly, I was relieved.
Really,
because I was like, I'm like these two need to not be in the same house together for like.
Wow, and you knew that in second grade.
Yeah,
that's wow, that's intense.
Yeah.
And then, so were you happy to move to North Andover with your mom?
Well, I moved there when I was 16, but yes, I was when I did.
Oh, so you stayed with your dad for a long time.
Yeah, because here's the thing, my dad it didn't get as bad with my dad until I was like 13, 14, because that's when he and my stepmom fought constantly, and my dad became like psychotically abusive to me, like very, very, very. I mean, he was actually very abusive to me my whole life. I just didn't really realize how bad it was until as I got older. Like, we had a housekeeper back in the day, and when I was a little kid, like she wanted to call child services on my dad.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Now it was like mental abuse, like screaming at you.
Both,
yeah.
all the both. I mean, my dad like literally would beat the crap out of me until I can walk right for a few hours. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how'd you get out of that situation?
Basically, I just as I got older, here's the thing. My mom kind of still owned the house that me and my dad and everyone kind of lived in, but because she like was the one who signed off and everything. And like my dad tried to like brainwash me and convince me that like my mom didn't care about me, my mom didn't love me, I was the only person who cared about me and everything like that. Like because I was like his meal ticket. Because my brother was like, "Fuck this, I'm out" a long time ago. Plus,
yeah.
like he was where he was going to school. He was like, it was made more sense for him to be in in Mass with my mom.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense for me to be there too, but we just, I didn't have my head straight. Like, so eventually, like, I moved out. I moved there because I started getting older and I started realizing, this is not right and everything. And moved out, never looked back.
Nice.
So yeah, and that took a lot to get because like at the time, like here's the thing, I grew like as anyone who is a comic, we grow up differently. We're just different people. Like we don't like no one picks entertainment as their main focus because we're all there in the head. Like you know what I mean? We're all damaged goods to some extent, and I was pretty damaged thanks to my dad. I was I couldn't feel like, in high school, I couldn't, like, first couple years in high school, it was literally hell because I was so weird as a kid because I couldn't function socially because I was going on at home.
Yeah,
like,
right.
So I'd get made fun of at school and then come home and have my dad just, like, I was literally living in a torture chamber for 2 years. So eventually I got out of that, and that's when I started, like, healing a little bit. And, like, and I guess, like, if we're going to open up on a lot of things, I've never opened up on this with a lot of podcasts before, but I guess I'll be real here. I started getting, like, at first, like, the doctor prescribed me, like, ADD pills or something like that, and I had some other medication because, like, they didn't know what was really going on with me because I wasn't talking about what was really happening, and, like, the pills I was taking, like, knocked me out for a couple hours here and there, so it's like, well, I'm out for a couple hours, I could knock myself out, and all the pain goes away.
Yeah, right.
I felt like I had nothing left to live for.
Wow.
So I decided I was going to take the whole damn bottle one night.
How old were you?
I was 16, I think, 15, 16.
Okay.
And I did take the whole bottle. And I woke up the next morning to see all the pills I'd taken thrown up. My body just wouldn't let me die.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I know, right? Sorry to start this off on a sad track, but this is
dude, because your life gets much, much better.
Oh yeah. No. Like for real, people listening, this is one of those, like, trust me, never give up kind of things. Like, Jesus Christ, like I literally have my friend Jessica back in high school made me a T-shirt that said "Never give up." I have to look and see if that's still back at my house in North End over here, but I still cherish that T-shirt to this day.
Never give up.
Well, that was like my old saying in it. And I wound up taking all of them. And I woke up next day and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm gonna keep on living. And then I wound up getting
That's like that thought is it's sad for me to laugh at, but like right now it's like, well, I got nothing else to do.
Fuck it. Fuck it. I guess I'll keep living this friggin' light the hell I'm in. But then I literally just, it was one of those things, I literally just, like, it was just, speaking of my friend Jessica, I remember, she was the first, like, her and this kid Nick were the two first people who were ever really nice to me in school and everything, and it was like, my friend Jessica was a gorgeous girl, and I was like, wow, I've got this girl who's so nice to me and shit like that, and all of a sudden it was like, kind of like the fog lifted, like, I was like, wait a minute, what the hell am I doing with that? So, I told my dad I was kind of done with it, and then we got into, like, one last physical altercation, and I remember it was kind of, and my dad was a lot bigger than I was, but he didn't count on the fact that I kind of had it. I like hit him in the face with something. I forget, it was like some kind of blunt object. And he went. I was like, I just kind of like stood over him, and I'm like, do it again.
Yeah, right.
And then I kind of moved out after that, and then because it was actually kind of down to I was like, either the stepmom goes or me and my brother go.
Yeah, right.
And
how old was your brother? At this point?
He was, I believe, 13.
Okay, so he's a couple years younger.
Yeah, my brother's like 2.5 years younger. So, and my dad was like, no. I'm like, all right, then me and Eric are gone. Because like my stepmom was also like one of the key factors in why my dad was such a psycho. She was very abusive to him, and she was a lunatic. My stepmom was fucking crazy. Like her husband, because we were neighbors at the time. We would hear them fight every day, and then her husband literally he just left her note being like, you can keep everything, I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how much of a nutbag she was. So I got out of that, and so I and that's when I kind of began to heal a little bit. Like I went into my junior year of high school. Also, when people ask like how long you've been in comedy, now I only say like about 4.5 years hardcore because that's how long I've been committing to it.
Right.
But let me tell you something. My journey to stand up began almost immediately after that, because I remember like one thing I did in that house with my dad, one thing I did to escape is I would bury myself in Comedy Central Presents and everything.
Really?
Yep.
Who were your favorites?
Well, growing up, Robin Williams live on Broadway I still consider to be the probably the single greatest performance of stand-up of all time.
Sure.
Chris Rock's Bigger and Blacker is actually the first HBO special I can remember watching, though. So I always say my roots I've got some roots in urban comedy. Like I really do. Like but also, and another thing, I know he gets a lot of flack nowadays for a lot of stuff he's done. I understand that, but Dane Cook, I remember watching his Comedy Central Presents, his very first one. I was laughing so fucking hard.
Yeah.
And I remember,
Was that the one with BK Lounge?
that was even before that. That was like the by round of applause. How do you feel? Like that one. That was the very first one on like one of his very first Comedy Central Presents on TV. I think the BK Lounge might have been on that. I think he just edited it out because remember when you do a Comedy Central Presents, like it's an hour, but they only edit it down to about 30 minutes.
Yeah, right.
So that happened. So I began to heal, and also I started like coming out of my shell a little bit, being normal, and like I started making making friends here and there. I still kind of a weird kid in high school, but I mean, hey, people started to like me, and then I remember just starting to write jokes and shit like that. And I'm like, I could do this. And then my senior year of high school is when I first started doing comedy.
Where was the first place you did comedy?
The very first place I ever did stand up, Jessie Cash, she still runs this room to this day, the Green Dragon in Boston, and she's kept that room going since I was. My first set came at like 17, 18.
Yeah, right.
Like
it's almost 10 years now. Right?
Oh yeah, it's been like so. Longer than that. And, my first set came there. I had no idea what I was doing. Well, here's the thing. I remember, and I just put together some material, and it was just like, I remember she had to like come on stage and like tap me because I didn't know how comedy worked at the time or when they like told her. She never gave me a light or anything. I was like, so I apologized to her after. I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea it was my first time. She goes, honey, I know. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's your first time. You're 17. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But the booker to the Comedy Store at the time, his name was Ryan Cott. He's still one of the main bookers in Boston to this day.
Mm-hmm.
The Comedy Connection. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. The old Comedy Connection in Boston. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
He saw me that night and he goes, I'll give you a spot. I was like, but I didn't really know it was kind of a bringer at the time, but whatever. So
yeah, right.
I invited people from high school. They saw me do it. I fucking had actually a good set. I could not tell you what my first set was, but I remember it went pretty well. And then I started doing it, for off and on for a little bit. Remember, I was still 18. Like I said, didn't really know where to drive in Boston. This before we had GPS and shit like that. So I was doing
MapQuest at best.
Oh yeah, MapQuest. Yeah, well yeah. No, texting and driving's bad. Dog, we had to fucking read and drive back in the day. Like whose idea was that? Like, oh yeah, that's safe. Let's see. You have a pamphlet. It was always no matter where you were going. It's the minimum 2 pages goes. Put that little URL on the second page. Just a waste paper. Let's read when we're driving. That's a great fucking idea. So I was doing it off and on, and I found a home at the Comedy Studio with Rick Jenkins, if you remember, you know that name, because he really liked me too. So I was doing it pretty, I really dedicated a lot of time my first year into doing it, and then I went to my first year, then college started.
And where'd you go to school?
My first school was Merrimack, and that's when the nightmares began again.
Really? Nightmares as in like...
Oh, in all the forms, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I went there. I just started to get better, but like I didn't think I was ready to go to school there. And for whatever weird reason, I actually tried to... My mom was like, you should live there. I'm like, Mom, it's like 2 minutes down the road from the house. Why the fuck would I come in? She goes, live there. I'm like, okay, Mom, I don't think it's a good idea. She's like, live there. I'm like, okay, bad idea. Because here's the thing. I didn't quite click with everyone at first, and I started... Well, I had old nightmares come back to get me. Because my dad had given me PTSD, which I never really gotten treated for because I didn't really know what it was. And, being brought outside of my comfort zone again when I was just very fragile made me go back to old ways. Like, I couldn't communicate with people. I was, like, in my room hiding, and then I couldn't sleep at night because I was having flashbacks to my dad.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, it gets worse. So that's when I met a dude who sold drugs.
Oh, no.
And he sold a lot of Valium and Vicodin. And that made me a fucking zombie because it would help me, like at least I could, it just made the pain go away again. I couldn't focus with people, but I just wasn't. And I remember like, and once again, wasn't like there. Couldn't make friends again. And it's really weird because I'm friends with a bunch of people from there now, years later. Because it's weird when you reconnect with people once you're, yourself and you grow up.
Yeah.
But
right.
I remember I was like, one night again, I went on some kind of crazy pill binge, and this is when I remember I went to bed on a Friday night at like 8, and I woke up at Saturday night at 7.
Oh wow.
With a pile of puke and blood next to my bed.
Oh.
Yep. And I was like, well, I'm done with this. And I remember one night I was standing on the roof of my college again because I thought, okay, I'm failing out of school. I'm a loser. I can't do this anymore. And I was standing on it, and I think about jumping, and for whatever weird reason, I kind of tripped as I tried to jump, and I kind of caught myself, and I was like, I guess I'm not again. I can't fucking do this. I can't. I was like. It was literally, I forced myself to see Justice League a while back. I remember that line Superman said. He goes, when he's coming out of his haze, he goes, won't let me live, won't let me die. And I'm like, look, that's literally how I felt. I was like, wow. I want to end this. Why can't I? I've got nothing left. Okay, even my comedy had slipped. Although I did play one of my best. Here's the thing. Although, thank God, near the end of my time at Merrimack. So, my mom, at this time, tried to hop on because she knew at least this time something was wrong. And she goes, and then there was a school in Toronto I had visited when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a writing and performance program up there. One of the specifics was comedy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What school is this?
Humber College in Toronto, in Etobicoke, Canada.
Huh.
Right,
okay.
Right outside of Toronto. And my mom was like, "Hun, why don't you go there?" I was like, you know what? I need to get away. And you know what? My one thing saved my life was my buddy Casey, who lives out here now. You actually might have met him here or there. He didn't go. He was a couple years older than I was. He didn't go to college. He still lived with his dad at the time, and I was always at that point. I was around February. I had kicked the shit, and I was starting to get my life back in order.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of living at his house every day and that made things better. We just hung out every day for the last couple months until I was done with Merrimack and I was getting ready to go to Toronto. So, and that summer was one of the most needed summers of my life. That's when all my friends were home from school. I got my shit together again. Me and Case and all our crew were hanging out every day or partying every night and shit like that. And it's wow. And for the first time in my life, it's I really felt like I had real friends, and it sucked even worse because I'm about to leave them to go to Toronto.
Wow.
But let me tell you something. So, and then I went to Toronto, and that was the best decision I ever made in my life.
Really?
So I made some of my best friends up there. I got to perform at Yuck Yuck's Comedy Club all the time, which was great. Great club. I made some of the best friends in my life and to this day we still talk. As a matter of fact, I was texting one of my buddy Josh he is going to be if I ever get married, God knows when that's going to be. But I was texting. We were just talking shit yesterday because Bruins Maple Leafs, game 1 yesterday. I was like, we fucked you up, shit like that.
That was a great game.
Oh yeah, it was. So, we were. So I went up there for 2 years, and I even ran a room up there too, which was great.
Oh wow!
So, but when I was up there, I found another passion up there because that program I was in was pretty easy. The schoolwork was easy. That's when I started because I was sick of also being pushed around a lot. One thing I'd started doing at Merrimack too was I'd started to work out a lot, and I was like, you know what? And I'd started to really love the UFC and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I right near us there was some MMA places, and I started training. So I started doing that for so I was doing mostly Taekwondo and shit to just for the first 2 years I was up there. So when I was done in Canada, and you can actually look up there, they actually gave me an award for producing for the room I ran. So
wow.
there's an award in my name, but that's cool actually. To this day,
that is cool.
Yeah. So I got back, and this is where stand-up started taking a back seat because it was okay, I'm back, I'm working out a lot, and then I started looking a lot better, and I actually wore glasses for a long time, and then I found I got PRK surgery, so I don't need them anymore, so glasses gone, I look great. And I loved training and shit. Also, at the time, stand-up in Boston was kind of had gone downhill at the time. Like the Comedy Connection was gone. I mean, they were kind of in a bit of, as far as comedy goes, they were in a big recession. And I'm like, okay, so now I need to get a bachelor's degree. So that's when I went to Bay State College, where I met
Tyler
Massey, who's oh so sassy. Fucking. So what I would do, and that's also made great friends there. See, it was like now at this point, I had made over the last few years of my life, backtrack, after our first year of school, we were all home, and we're all adults at this point. We had, reconnected. So all my old friends from high school, we connected like this, especially when we were older, and we all like, all of a sudden, everyone, like, with the whole comedy thing, everyone had found like a, mystique to me and everything. We like, all of a sudden, I'm friends with a lot of these people I'd never been friends with before, and we were all like just tight. I made an army of friends in Canada, like over 2 years. Like my final show I did in my room was oversold out, had 100 people, all of which I had met, throughout my time up there.
Yeah, right.
And then, then I went to Bay State, and what I would do is, and I was there and I lived in Boston for 4 years. And during that time, I had met so many people. It was an international, a lot of international students here and there. And you know me, I make friends with everybody.
Yeah.
I was there what I would do in my time, I would wake up, go to class. I would wake up, go lift, go to class, go kickbox for 2 hours, then come home. Like I trained at Tap Out on Canal Street, and then I shifted to Y Crew MMA. So I was doing that. So I would get up, work out, come home, go train, come back, and either do homework or go to the bar with my friends, because I was 21 at the time. Most of the second part. But,
yeah, right.
And I was doing that for most of the time. I would still do shows at the Comedy Studio here and there, but it was like, I wasn't really committing to it as much as I could have. So, but even still, I was still writing shit. I still did shows sporadically here and there, because I still love comedy. Just,
yeah, right.
Part of me thought I might really be a fighter, but I wasn't committing to, it wasn't like, when I was getting older, and then I remember graduating. I lived in Boston one more year, and I was having trouble finding a job. And, at one point, like, I'd done some work with this, hosting a musical show that was out here. It was booked through a music booking company that were based in LA. Now, two things happened. I made friends with that guy, and then I was doing a show at the Comedy Connection in Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. And they told me, I was like, this guy who was there was like, hey, I know this promoter in LA, if you ever want to do the Comedy Store. And I was like, now, remember, that's like home to me out here now, but back in Boston, like, I mean, that was just a place of myth and legend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Without
It's
a
like,
doubt.
and I'm like, I'm about to perform at this hallowed hall of comedy. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
So again, wanted being a crazy Cindy Bringer show, which exactly now looking out here is like, it's don't even fucking think about that. And as much as I love the store, you have to look at every club now. It's like it's just another stage. I mean, It's still kind of cool. I mean,
without a doubt,
it's still kind of cool. Like, so it was like, I flew out here, did that. It was still really cool. Came back, and as much as I love being in Boston, it's like, okay, I'm not really doing much right now. I need to, and that company I did some shows for, like, they were kind of a startup. They're like, hey, do you want to come out here and work for us? And I was like, you know what? And it was tough to leave Boston, because at that point, like, I went from a kid at 16 years old who never thought he'd ever even have one real friend, to a kid at 25 had more than you ever knew what to do with. Like, I mean, oh my God, my 25th birthday, like, we had it was free before, I think free before 10:30 at Royale nightclub. Mm-hmm. My boy Viren, who helped put that whole thing together, the final cutoff for it at 10:30, 209 people showed up for me. It was insane. It was nuts. Like, and it's like,
to be honest, before obviously the podcast, like, we became friends. You're friends with everyone. I had no idea that could even have been a part of your past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're a completely different person now.
Yeah, I mean, my going away party. They shut my going away party, and this is like what I like the day of. It was so I wake up, my doorbell rings at like 9:30, 10 in the morning, and I'm like, God, I want to sleep in mad, like I'm getting hammered tonight. I want to be all full energy. I open the door. It's my friends Maggie and Jordan from fucking Toronto. They showed up for my going away party. I was like, are you serious? Like, I was like, I couldn't even believe it. I'm like, I have the greatest friends in the fucking world. Like, you know what I mean? And I was actually over the summer. I was up there for that. That's back when they were dating. I was up there for their wedding.
Oh wow!
Back in the summertime. So it's so to leave all that behind was a lot. But I left Boston at the right time because it's like, we were all moving on with our lives. Like everyone was doing their own thing. And like, you know what? A job out here in LA. And I had plenty of friends who already lived here. My friend Casey from high school moved out here. My friend Audie, who lives out here. Like,
So you had some people to stay with when you came out.
Yeah, I had some people, and I had my apartment set up. And I came out with my friends Max and Claire. Max, he moved back to Boston. Claire still. I haven't seen Claire in a little bit, but like her and I are still good friends to this day. So I moved out here, and it's like it was tough to leave like an army of people who cared about you behind. But I made a new army out here, and it's like, and it's really weird. Like I've made friends all over everywhere, and being out here, I've done things I never thought I could dream of too. I mean, like it's like I never like the past year, 2017 was definitely my biggest year in comedy, just because I did my first real run in New York. I'm going back there in a couple weeks. I made some good friends out there too. My friend Pauline Murphy, she's great. Remy Casimir, she's a wonderful lady. We're battling at the stand. You're going down, bitch. So that happened, and out here, I mean, I've come up with better material than ever came up with back in, but like this place kicked the shit out of me and pulled me back out. Like in 2000,
talk about that for a second. How did it kick the shit out of you?
Because I came out here and I thought my material was great, and man, it wasn't. Oh my God, no, things were not going well. And then also, Cindy was having me be your DJ for a while, and I didn't want to be known as a bringer comic. Like that's how people were looking. So I like dug myself in a fucking hole out here my first year. As I do everywhere I go. So I got out of doing that. I made, good friends with all the other comics out here too. I mean, over the past few years, Alex Duong is a great buddy of mine. I mean, Sarah Keller, who is my best friend, who reminds me.
High texts from Sarah are some of my favorite posts from you.
Oh yeah, high text because she's great. Also, speaking of which, I'm dog sitting her dog this fucking weekend because she's working all weekend. Fucking Hank. High text from Sarah. I'll give you'll be getting some of this weekend because if she doesn't have Hank, she'll be smoking a lot. And oh boy.
So when you moved to LA and you're DJing for Cindy, you said?
Yeah, so she would let me. So it was like, for me, it was like, every Friday night at the Comedy Store. I'm like, I'm a fucking G. No, I wasn't. I was an F. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the worst promoter. It wasn't really how you got into the Comedy Store at all. I was with by the way, she just picked the worst people to do comedy with, like. Because she didn't care who you were if you just brought 5 people just so she could do 20 minutes because she's a failed comic. I mean, if you've been there for 20 years and no one gives a shit about you.
Yeah, right.
Like, good God almighty. Yeah. Like, no one does anything about you.
So how'd you make the transition?
I was I'm like, hey, Cindy, I kind of resigned, and that's the end of that story. So that's when I was starting to do way more open mics. I did, and finally, and that, I'll tell you when it really first started hitting me. And when I first finally felt like I became a part of the crew was back in 2016, was when I started doing Roast Battle, which was, now that is a crazy, especially back when, you had all the people in there. Like, I remember my second battle versus Lindsay Jennings. I'll never forget that. Was the cast of Saturday Night Live showed up to judge it. And I was like, oh my God, like, holy shit, like Bobby Moynihan and Jay Farrow. And I was like, that's fucking Leslie Jones. Because here's the thing. That's also back when me and Sarah were starting. Like, that's also like serendipity happens. Didn't mean to say that. I swear to God. Didn't mean to say that. Fuck. Did not mean to say that. But, I started started going to shows and meeting people and stuff like that. And then my boy Chris Newberg, he had me host his show at the Den. And my friend Sarah walked in. I had no idea who she was. And then I brought her on stage. We talked afterward. And then a week later, we hung out This is how this happened. I was like, hey, what are you doing after? She goes, want to go to the store? She goes, what's going on there? Roast Battle? She goes, what's that? I'm like, oh, bitch, follow me. So I bring her up there, and she saw that. She goes, oh, my God, I'm doing this she thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Explain what Roast Battle is
okay,
for
now
people
basically,
that don't know.
For those of you who don't know what it is, it's gotten really big at this point, as you've seen. It's had 2 seasons on Comedy Central. They've had a special episode of it on Crashing. For those, by the way, like it basically just two comics going tit for tat, joke for joke, trying to roast each other, and they have good comebacks and all this shit. And it's one. And honestly, I recommend any comedian do it when they're out here. Do it. You don't have to like. Don't make it a thing, but do it like at least once in your career, just for fun. It makes you a better person. It's like you work muscles you never knew you had.
Yeah,
it made me a better comic.
It's an insane environment.
Oh,
I remember my first one against Brett Eby, and the crowd is hostile.
Yeah, where the fuck is that kid, man? I haven't seen him in forever.
We just went to Pete Holmes' last show in LA last night at Largo.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah, he's putzing around.
Dude, Pete Holmes fucking stopped into the improv mic. I was like, what the hell are you doing here?
Last night?
A couple weeks back. It was really cool. He just came in there. He chilled for a little bit, went up, chilled after. Nice, very nice guy.
Oh, super nice
cool
guy. He put on a great show last night.
Yeah.
Great show.
I believe it. And it was really my second match, I'm battling Lindsay. We tore the fucking house down. I win. And I'll never get this is back when backtrack. So Sarah sees the show, and then a week later, she wants me to come see it with her, and then we go and buy alcohol. We just drink at my place all night. We did all night. We drank all night. And it was really weird because normally me being like, okay, my place plus hot chick plus her and I plus drinking all night equals happy time.
Yeah.
We're oddly enough, I just love talking to her. We just like hit it off like that. I'm like, oh my God, like I want this girl to be my for fucking ever. And we just became, after we were instant best friends. Like I don't like, there's not a date. I cannot remember the last time we have not gone a day without talking. Like we are joined at the fucking hip every mic we go to. And we just have each other's back. Like her and I are the two most polar opposite motherfucking people.
Yeah.
We are the two most polar opposite people, but we just get each other.
Yeah, for sure.
So me and when Lindsay had our match there, it was funny because I win. I'm like, my adrenaline's all the way, because that's back when it was old roast battle, back before an incident happened. We'll get to that in a second, where they used to pack people in there. I'm not sure you even saw this. I'm trying to think if you were there when. Oh, this was like...
Oh, like standing room only to the door to the hallway. You mean.
Yeah, like they just packed people in there. Like it was like wall-to-wall people. You couldn't even breathe. So and that place was going bullshit, banana sandwich nuts. And then I'm adrenaline cloud now. And Sarah texts me, she goes, darling, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, I know, right? She goes, that was the cast of SNL judging your match? I'm like, thank you for waiting to tell me till after the match was over.
Yeah.
That is crap I didn't need to know. Because the only time, because let me tell you something, sometimes big moments like that are better left till after you've all right, this is one, I will say this about Cindy though. Two of my biggest shows came with her. I had my best show ever in the Belly Room on one of her shows, and I really wish I had it taped, because it was one of the best sets of my life I ever did. It was, I could not have, I got off stage and it was just like,
yeah.
like one of those moments. And the other time I'm in the main room, and she taps me on the shoulder, goes, Mark, Polly's coming in to do some time. Make sure you get the crowd pumped up. I was like, Polly who? Polly. Sure.
Yeah.
You mean the guy whose family owns the club?
Yeah.
Right now.
The weasel himself.
Yep. And I've got and the guy before me just got the light, so I've got maybe 10.5 seconds to mentally prepare for this shit. Yeah. Sure. Let's go. Thank you for telling me that. Wanted having a good set, and Mr. Weeze, bro, he came out and fucking he did great.
Not for nothing, but that's what makes a good comic though, is somebody that you can put on stage with 10 seconds notice to keep that crowd warm or even get them hot for the next comedian. That's a skill set that I don't think a lot of comedians have.
I mean, it's just fun. But that's just kind of me, because back in Boston too, I was another thing that makes me do shit like that is my personality. If you know me, here's the thing, I'm a little bit on lack of sleep, because last night I met this girl at a bar. She came back to my place. We had a late night. Fucking, that's just me, what I do now. But fucking, I was out of no, but if you know me, for those of you who know me best, they'll tell you I am I'm at 100 all day every day. I'm just
yeah.
I am walking caffeine. That's
yeah. That you are. So when you got here, were you working for that Playhouse?
No, I was working for a startup music booking company, but that wound up going defunct for a while. So I got a new job. Then I started working the 9 to 5 day job and shit like that. And then I also do temp work here and here from time to time, and now I'm trying to look for a good PA job. Because here's the thing, like in the past year and a half, like I've it's been the best. Like again, did my first run in New York, had my first real show at the Laugh Factory, my first real show at the Improv, got up in Friends and Family at the Comedy Store, and these are all shows like booked through the club itself, which is great. Like so it's like I got my name on the run sheet, which is fucking cool.
Yeah, right.
But again, it doesn't pay the bills. You know what I mean? Like we all got a side hustle out here.
Right.
Like, I mean, even some of the big paid regulars of the Comedy Store, they make most of their money through fucking their writing gigs and shit like that.
Yeah, without a doubt. So what were some of your side hustles? Run through them.
Just what I just said, basically. Like
Well, what was the 9 to 5?
Oh, it was I was a PR group I worked for, and we just been calling in for phone apps. So one of the I was just on phones, just trying to reach out to people to do advertisement for us. However, I will say I'm not going to say which company, but they were doing some shady shit, and that's one of the reasons I bounced out. No, well, they kept hiring interns that were not in college. Let's put it that way. I'm like, there are some labor. Like I looked at this, me and my coworker Nicolette, we looked at each other like they are violating some serious labor laws. Yeah, we are getting the fuck out of here. This is like we need to fucking go right now.
Yeah. Well. That's really funny.
So,
and what constitutes what constitutes a good PA job? Because as far as I know, PAs work for a month at a time, 3 months at a time, and then they get a month off. You know what I mean? So
PA, you're working a few times a week, but you make a few $100s a day. So it's like, you know what I mean? Which is perfect for, what we do out here. Because like my mom was like, I was trying to, I'm just looking for a new job right now. Make sure that my mom was like, well, what about a good 9 to 5? I'm like, Mom, you don't know how Hollywood works. Like, I can't do, I can't come in and do a podcast at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If I'm working a 9 to 5 a desk job, I can't go on the road to New York just for a week whenever I want to. If I'm doing that, I'm out here, out here chasing a dream and shit like that. People work different jobs. Like LA is not. How many people do we know that? I think who do I know as a 9 to 5? I know Zara Ali. She's got one, but she's just. She's a boss ass bitch. Zara have worked really hard in her 20s. Like she's got like a really good corporate job, so I get why she does that. I know Aston Wallace is an attorney, but like he just strictly covers like weed and shit like that. So I'm trying to think. I'm like, and he's like, how long did it take you to get the bar? He's like 3.5, 4 years. I'm like, how good of a lawyer are you?
Yeah, right.
But if you're working in a law office and you got a degree, hey, if you're an attorney, you're doing something right.
Yeah, if you can pay your bills, you're doing all right.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So Aston does that. Zara's an attorney.
Yeah, I don't know anyone with like a real 9 to 5.
Barely one's got that. And for any comic who does like the big comics, it's mostly it's 9 to 5, but they're writing for a show, which we all want to do anyway.
Yeah, which is the goal, or one of the goals.
Yeah, like. I know people give, I'm not going to say her name, but some people give a certain comic friend of mine shit because she's not on stage a lot. I'm like, well, yeah, but she's writing for friggin' big networks, dude. Like, mean, you think she's going to like dump that, just do open mics with a bunch of people? No, like she's getting some fucking credits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my origin story. You know what I mean? It's like, so I went from the kid who didn't again, I just, I always try to say, I'm like, listen, never give up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I never thought I'd have like friends or a girlfriend or anything in my lifetime. And things have been better than I could have ever hoped for.
You've really been crushing it. And what I think I read something. You had a hot take on bullying on Facebook.
Yeah, I did.
Tell us what that is.
Well, I had said this a while back, and it had to do with the whole, everything with gun control and school shooting and everything. And one thing that kind of drove me insane was the whole, these kids who did the shooters of this are poor bullied kids. And I'm like, let me fucking tell you something. All right. Yeah, I got picked on in fucking high school. I never once thought about turning a gun on my goddamn classmates. Like people they bring it that narrative. I'm like, the two kids who pulled Columbine, like they went up, they had girlfriends, they had friends and shit. They were just fucked up. They would walk around school giving each other like Nazi salutes and crap like that. If you look at like half these kids who did this were definitely wired differently or fucked up. Like there was don't get me wrong, I'm sure it was some outside factors part of it, maybe, but dude, you don't go in and commit mass murder.
Yeah.
Because someone puts you in a locker. Like, you don't. Like, that's not how, or shit like that. Like, you don't want to know, like, you getting picked on is not going to warrant you coming in and, opening up a fucking AK-47 on your entire fucking school. That's not going to make you a mass murder terrorist. That's not how that fucking works. From someone who, listen, And then they're saying, well, they were victims of bullying. I'm like, did you just call them victims? No, the 17 kids who are dead at his feet are fucking victims.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do not mix kids who are picked on. Like, is bullying an issue and shit that needs to be worked out? Of course it is. But don't, for the love of God, mix these fucking, like, these are psychopaths for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, if I want, if we found out later this kid was getting raped every day by his dad or some shit, okay, maybe I guess I could get why that would make some kid go fucking crazy. I get that. But, like, if they were, like, half these kids were normal kids in a normal fucking household.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a mix of everything, It's just I tend to keep all my views on hot button issues off the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because especially in LA, people in LA get so offended about. I'm like, listen, you live in a fucking bubble out here. You think people in middle America care about half the shit that you're worried about half the time?
Yeah.
Fucking no. Like,
yeah, that's. So let's talk about that for a second. What was the culture shock between coming from Boston comedy, or not even just the comedy scene, but from Boston to LA? What?
Everyone's just way more offended out here.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone's just way more offended out here. Everyone is offended at everything out here. I think that everyone just tries to be offended at everything, and I'm like, listen, half the people who get offended by this shit, you don't even. Like, are you getting offended for people who you're getting offended? Like half these, it's mostly just white chicks for the most part, but it's mostly white people getting offended for black people when black people are like, we're not even offended by this here. Let us handle our shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I get certain aspects. I get we want to stand up for what's right, but it's like everyone's just so trying to be offended by everything. That's one thing. Also, but I will say it is a very one thing I do like about LA is a very progressive city, which I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm more on the left side of things, as most of us are. I mean, I want everyone to be treated equally. I think it's cool that everyone here, no matter what you are, black, white, Asian, whatever transgender, gay, whatever, you are not going to feel weirded out in LA. Now that's a good thing about LA.
Definitely not.
That's a good thing about LA.
Yeah.
That's a great thing about LA is that everyone can be themselves here. You know what I mean? So it's been a mix of both. Everyone's offended at shit, and it's everyone and the fucked up thing is the people who get offended most are comedians. They always have shit to say and are so easily offended. I'm like, bitch, it's we're the ones making the jokes.
Yeah.
What are you trying to prove? People oh, I don't want to talk. That guy says some ignorant shit. I don't want to hear about him anymore. I'm like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, for comedians to get upset at other comedians for doing jokes that they don't like, it's how can you do that? You've never said a joke that went poorly, you jackass? Of course you have.
Yeah.
Of course you have. You can't. It's the thing is with comedians, it's always a work in progress. Nothing is ever perfect, if you ask me, anyways. And I think that you can't. Obviously, there's some things. If somebody goes up there and just talks about raping puppies the whole time, I get it. But for the most part, if somebody just tiptoes the line on a racial thing, whatever,
poke a little fun at it. It's just poke one little thing.
That's what gets me. How do you feel? How do you feel about these PC comedy clubs that are popping up?
What the hell is a PC comedy club?
They I guess Brendan Sargent sent me a article about it. I think Canada's coming out with a PC comedy club where you can't talk about certain things.
They should burn that place to the fucking ground. Are you joking? Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, that's you want my thoughts on it? But here, I'm listen, ISIS, if you really want to do some shit here, I'm gonna give you these specific places to take it. For real. Do you understand what you're doing with that? Do you understand? For idiotic people want to do that? Let me tell you something. This is fucking comedy. It's the last art form that cannot be censored in a world of censorship. It's the one place, and why comedy's so big now is because that's what people want. They want just to hear shit, and without repercussion. And you're gonna start implementing crap like that? No. That's how this starts. I don't like that at all.
I'm on your side, man. We're wrapping up here. You said you got shows coming up in New York?
Yeah, I am at The Stand the 24th. I'm at the Broadway Comedy Club the 25th, and I am at the Eastville Comedy Club the 27th and 28th.
Nice.
And I'll probably jump on a couple more shows here and there. So until then, that's what I've got booked so far.
Nice. Do you have anything around town in between then?
Right now, I just did my last run of shows, so I don't really. So I'll let you know.
In between booking and stuff.
I'm in between bookings right now. So
what's your social media handle for these people to?
You can follow me on all forms of social media at MarkTheShark927. That's Mark with a K. Like the whatever it's called, and shark like the fish.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in, man. You have an incredible story. Oh, one last thing. If you had advice, this is the whole thing. If you have advice for people that are being, abused at home or even bullied, or for people that are trying to make it into the comedy world, or people that are just trying to be them and follow their dream, what's your advice?
Well, for anyone who's getting bullied at home and stuff like that, listen, number one, as far as home life goes, do your best to get out of it and try and get help. As far as life at school goes, it gets better. 3, know your self-worth. And 4, also, I would say know how to compromise with certain things. Because let me tell you something. I also know I got made fun of. I was loud and annoying. Try not to do that. Also, sometimes you got to realize, remember, sometimes you also got to look back and realize, what can you do to fix yourself up a little bit? But also, but remember, at the end of the day, all life, life is precious. You know what I mean? Your life, no matter what you want to do, don't ever think of throwing it away. It's a terrible thing to waste. And Lord knows I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, Lord knows we're glad you didn't.
Thank you. And as far as comedy goes, listen, just get, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not a fan of it was actually something that, it was advice that was told to you. When you're on another podcast. I don't want to say his name, but okay. It's a bigger podcast that takes place at the Comedy Store.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Now, me and the comic that gave you this advice, I don't listen. He does not like me. I've never quite cared for him either. But he did give you the best advice I've ever heard. It was like, as far as all comedy goes, if you put in the time and you put in the work, it works out. There's no way, remember, there's only so many stand-up comics, and there's only, maybe, in America, 5,000 of us at the very most?
You think?
At the very most, maybe less?
Okay.
I mean, maybe, okay, 5,000, that's adding in just, open micers who don't do anything and shit that. But I'm saying, but at least as people who actually try and do shit, maybe 1,500?
Yeah. It's
a small circle. Comedy is the ties that bind. So if you just put in the work and put in the time, it will work out.
Definitely.
So it's, and like I said, I'm glad to be alive, glad to be here, and I'm glad I've got to, and like I said, I went from someone who had no friends to someone who's made so many, and I'm sitting across from one of them right now.
Yeah, and we're definitely glad to have you in the studio, man. We really appreciate it. Mark Stevens, everybody. I'll be sure to post his New York show dates and his social media handles in the bio and the promos. Today's musical guest is Samantha Leah. She is a R&B and rap artist out of New York, New Jersey. Give her a listen, give her a follow, and we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for listening.
Whoa. 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 Either I care too much or I care too little. What's a woman gotta do to be somewhere in the middle? I need a doctor, please. Cause this back and forth motion's really making me weak in my knees. I need a doctor, someone call me a doctor. A therapist or someone with 2 ears they have to offer. Cause I'm sliding down this fucking pavement again. I see the warning signs, keeping watch out for the bend. And I pretend as if I hadn't seen it coming before, when I know damn well exactly what I'm signing up for. All my ladies, I know you feel me, I know you never gave a damn. Till it happens, you get locked in and give your life up to that man. Either I care too much or I don't care enough. The only thing that trips me up in life is falling in love. Either I care too much or I don't give a fuck. Guess that's the price you pay when you be falling in love. Yeah, I need a doctor, someone call me a doctor. I know the way this ends, but yet I'll do anything for ya. Something to numb me, something to save me from me, something to help remind me life is better when you're carefree. Either I care too much or I care too little. What's a woman gotta do to be somewhere in the middle? I need a doctor, please. Cause this back and forth motion's really making me weak in my knees. I care too much or I care too little. What's a woman gotta do to be somewhere in the middle? I need a doctor, please. it, call it stupid, call it foolish. I don't do this, I go 0 to 100 like I'm riding in a new whip. I'm a independent, bad as real as they come, and I'ma always stay saucing why they call me A1 till I hear that stranger come and knock on my door. Then I know damn well exactly what I'm signing up for. Then I'm back in it, 0 fucks to give, maybe 1 or 2. Now I'm stuck on you, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5. Fuck now, I need you to survive. Either I care too much or I don't care enough. The only thing that trips me up in life is falling in love. Either I care too much or I don't give a fuck. Guess that's the price you pay when you be falling in love. Yeah, I need a doctor, someone call me a doctor. I know the way this ends, but yet I'll do anything for ya. Something to numb me, something to save me from me, something to help remind me life is better when you're carefree. I care too much or I care too little. What's a woman gotta do to be somewhere in the middle? I need a doctor, please. 'Cause this back and forth motions really making me weak. If I care too much or I care too little, what's a woman gotta do to be somewhere